Hello, my name is Alan Wright, and I'm a professor of metaphysics and the founder and director of the Wright Success Institute. I'm going to talk to you today in this episode 5 of my podcast, Right or Wrong, ? Right with a W. And I'm going to talk about this, and it's difficult to talk about. No one likes bad news. No one likes to hear about problems. We want to hear about solutions. Well, this is the 5th episode, and I need to be more specific about the problem and how it's going to directly affect you and your family. And in my 6th episode, which will be my last in this podcast series, I will be talking about my proposed solution to the problem for you, individual people. It's free, it's confidential, it's private, it's all online. Transcripts are available if you want them. It's very simple to use. It's an old strategic planning process that I've been using at all levels: corporate, government, education, small businesses. I've been doing this now for over 30 years on this specific kind of counseling. My background is absolutely capable of helping you if you want it. And if you don't want it, okay, that's a choice. But that's what I want to talk to you about in this specific podcast. In my first 4, I talked about this whole issue that you can even tell yourself, you know the world's in trouble. You know there's huge issues, everything from climate to power struggles between nations, and it's affecting us and our economy here in the United States and all around the world. And it's hurting the poorest people the worst. Well, problems like this have been coming and going through the centuries. Now, my level of study in metaphysics has taken me back 5,000 years, before the Bible was written, into mythology and the different languages of trying to understand the world we live in. Well, throughout all that time, there have been problems with despots, kings, wannabes, gods, at least as people knew them to be or thought them to be. All through these empire building years, there have been different levels of people. There have been the very poor, the very uneducated, and then there have been the more wealthy. Well, the times that we're living in right now are unique. Now, they still have those problems, every one that I mentioned, but the problem is exacerbated and unique because of technocracy. Technology produces technocracy. Technocracy produces technology. That relationship has come about in an exceedingly problematic way over many hundreds of years. Since the fire, the discovery of fire, since the wheel, and on and on and on. We can go all through the history of that, but I don't think that's necessary. What I would like you to know is that we live in an extremely peculiar time. This time right now is a cosmic level time that I can explain to you in another place, in another way, more explicitly. But cosmic time is immense, to say the least, okay? But it's very difficult to explain to someone that something is about to happen that hasn't happened for thousands of years. Okay? The event, perhaps longer. This event that is the catalyst for this is technocracy, technology. Technology has evolved now to a point when all of the classical physics, mathematics, chemistry, all the rest is marginally correct. And it's correct only in a pragmatic fashion. Now, I try not to use words people aren't used to hearing, But I need to explain pragmatism for a moment. Now I use my own camera, I use my own lighting, I use my own everything. And I do all this myself for a specific reason. I want to be the person responsible for it. I don't want to get other people in trouble. I say a lot of political things and scientific things but not everybody agrees with. But I promise you I can prove everything I'm saying. So this is me talking to you, person to person, without a lot of fancy stuff. Okay? I don't want this to be you thinking an AI bot's talking to you. Of course, none of them would look as bad as me. I'm 78. But I want you to be sure you're talking to a person, and a person who's been doing this for 50 years. Okay? I know what I'm talking about, and I want to help you. Because you're facing an extreme danger that's epical. It's one of those rare times in everything we know about civilization, there's going to be a dramatic change. Now you can think about biblical events, you can think about floods, hurricanes, and all these other types of natural phenomena. You can think about tremendous things that have happened in the history of just this country and all the wars and all that kind of thing, the fall of Rome. You can talk about when dinosaurs were in charge of the world and went away for whatever reason. Scientists debate that. Okay? You can talk about the industrial era, okay, a long time. You can talk about just any number of ways we can talk about our history. And those are all fabricated to a certain degree by the people that held the power of the narrative, that could put together the narrative and get it out. There have been competing narratives. But this one I'm talking to you about now is very clear, and it's becoming more clear to a lot of people. And that's this whole argument about the power of artificial intelligence and what it means around quantum physics and what it means for everybody. And in a political context that we're in today, how crucial it is that you know that, individual people. Now I've tried to break that down in my other podcasts so that you understand the cosmic nature and the socioeconomic nature of this problem facing Earth. And if you haven't seen those other podcasts, you should do so. You can find it on YouTube on my channel. It's Right or Wrong 1783 is the channel on YouTube. Now what I want to do right now is I'm going to change that all around just a little bit, and I want to talk from the socio-political aspect very specifically as it relates to you and your family. And I'm going to do so with a prop that I've been using for a long, long time, and I think it helps people a lot. I've gotten hundreds of people tell me it's been very helpful for them. First of all, I want to talk about the world we live in using this color-coded little pyramid. Okay? Now you may recognize this top in red, white, and blue with a little gold on the top. And then what's this black part down here? Well, 8 billion people packed into this pyramid. This is roughly how they would be partitioned out if you had 8 billion people in here. Now what would that mean? Well, in this bottom part here, when you use a pyramid, the way the geometry works is this is half of the entire 8 billion people in black. These are the people around the world that live on less than $10 a day, equivalent of American money. And think what you could buy for $10, okay, for housing and food and transportation and clothing and all those other things, okay? We're talking half the population of the world. Now Americans tend not to think much about these other people, especially these people at the higher level. And I'll explain that a little more in a minute. But these people, if you've listened to my other podcasts, are destined to basically become what we call zombies. People left out, people left behind, worse than they are today. A lot of these people have been made the way they are because the United States and other developing countries, highly developing countries, have been robbing these people for their resources and indebting them through their company, through their governments, who were paid off, and then most of that money went to American, European corporations that extracted the resources and indebted these countries so that they couldn't build for their people. Now you can accept that right or wrong, but I'm telling you it's the truth. It's very provable, but you have to look into it. You can't believe necessarily what people tell you. You have to look into it if you care. These people are destined to be basically the walking dead by comparison to these people up here in terms of standard of living. Okay? Famine, terrible illnesses, diseases, lack of health care, all the rest of it contribute. So I'm not really talking about these people right now. I think it's obvious they're in trouble. But I'm going to talk to you about these people in red next. And this is another 40% of that entire population. This 40% are people around the world in slowly developing countries or medium developing countries that have some income. They have shelter, they have running water, they have some plumbing, they have all these things, but these people are the working class, I call them, just for lack of simplicity. Now that doesn't mean these people don't want to work and don't work hard to stay alive, and these people up here work too, but this is primarily the working community. And these people almost all make less than $100,000 a year in the United States. And many make much less. As you come down the pyramid, they make less. And the debt that these people owe through all the means of taxation, through all the means of credit, the entire credit society's fallen on the weight of these people. These people right here, that weight is falling upon them. And an important fact for you to realize, based on what I'm going to tell you, is that these people, if they were out of work and couldn't find another job for 6 months, in combination with their debt, lack of income, and the problems we're having in the world, these people would further squeeze these people as they become homeless. They'll lose their home, they'll lose their apartments, they can lose everything they've got because they can't pay the interest on the debts. They certainly can't pay off the part that they owe, okay? So these people, if they are out of work for 6 months, and that can happen. You've seen some of that during the recent illness that befell the world that we call COVID. And these people right now are also going to join the ranks of what we call zombies because their life is threatened, their lifestyle, the quality of life is going to be greatly reduced as a result of what I'm talking about. So I want you to know who I'm talking to. Now if you're in this white area, this is the lower middle class down here, this is the upper middle class here. Okay? Now these people make anywhere from say 80,000 right around 100,000 all the way up to where you get up in here they have investments and things, or if they're retired their income is roughly equivalent to 100 to 150 even $200,000 a year. Now this area is fuzzy right here. Most of you watching this aren't up here, but many of you are here in the United States, particularly Europe, some of the more wealthy countries. Now up here, these people are the ones I want to talk to you about first. This is the 1%ers right here, and this right up at the top is your 1%ers, and then right at the very top is 1% of 1%. Very tiny amount, but they're still in the thousands, the tens of thousands. Some would say hundreds of thousands, just that tiny little tip. Now, these people up here own and control all of the wealth in the entire world at a level that completely emasculates all these others. There are less than 1,000 people here that own more than this entire half of the assets and control them of the world. They're powerful people. Now, power is the fundamental thing in what we call a universe. You don't like to think about that because many of you are still very religious around the world, and you think of gods and you think of nice. You think of the world's trying to make people nice, but the devil or some equivalent of that is making all this bad, and bad things happen to people and all that. Now, if you paid any attention or watched my other podcasts, you'll know that that's just not true. Now, it is true to some level. There are bad people, many of whom have been considered gods. Many are still treated like God-like in terms of dictators, kings, queens, princes, dukes, presidents, all these other labels they give them, presidents of corporations, board chairmen. All these people fit into this category up here that live like gods compared to all these people down here. So if you want to think of it that way, that's what I'm talking about. These people are controllers. And it's very important for you to understand that. This whole issue of artificial intelligence, control of militaries, all the wars around the world are all being put together by these people and fought by these people down here. And these are the people that die, are damaged and die, and lose their properties and through terrible things. These people always do better the further you move up the top. So you decide where you are on this pyramid and how do you think it's going to affect you based on what I say right now. Now, I'm not sure anybody else in the world will tell you this, that knows what they're talking about. The reason being, at all these top levels of academia, corporate life, these people will lose their jobs. They live in fear for their incomes and their families. So they don't talk about this much. Almost all of what you see on the internet and social media and basically anywhere else, they don't really know what they're talking about. I'm sorry to say that. And I know many of you have lots of respect for your teachers and the people that taught you your professions and all the rest of it. But because of something called true lies, most of them don't really know much about the world. They know their specialties, and that's what they teach. And that's what you're getting in school, and you're getting what's called true lies. Repetition, scientifically, of paradigms that are outdated. Now, a paradigm is just an idea about how things work, with some level of evidence to prove it. But it's often misinterpreted. I've worked in laboratories, I've supervised laboratories. Laboratory science still has to be interpreted, the results, by adults, by people that can make mistakes. And these false testimonies going through all time sometimes get it wrong, and they always get it wrong to some degree. The only thing you can be sure of in the entire world, all the cosmos, is that the only thing that really exists is possibility and probability. Now, with the equipment that you've got, your eyes, ears, nose, throat, feeling, touch, all these things, through your sixth super sense that nobody teaches you about in your brain, you put all that together and that's your worldview. That's how you see the world, and it truly is different just a little bit, and sometimes a lot, for every person on the planet. Every animal on the planet has a certain degree of a worldview. This is the world we live in. Okay, now I'm going to set this down now. And I want to talk to you specifically. I want to keep this reasonably short. I want to talk to you now about, instead of a cosmic event, cosmic events tell you how it's happening, why it's happening, and the likely outcome, probability and possibility. We've arrived at a time in the history, not only of our nation, but of human beings all around the world, where we're coming upon what many physicists and really, really smart people are talking about as the singularity. Now, what is that? It simply means that when what we're calling artificial intelligence reaches the capacity of human beings collectively throughout history in terms of recorded information. They call it large language models, artificial intelligence. Well, when it reaches that singularity level, that means that they are as smart or smarter than all of the living people on the planet put together. And they do it in trillions of times faster. That spells danger. Any way you look at it, it spells danger to human beings. Every time throughout evolution, all the evolution we know about historically, whether you believe it, understand it, or not, it's always been a matter of power. Fire, weaponry, all the rest has brought power, and that's the basis of survival on this planet. Not how good you are, how powerful you are. Now, being good may have some good, powerful qualities, but sometimes being bad also does too. But what I want you to know is a cosmic event is taking place right now where throughout the evolution of everything we call universe incorrectly, okay, throughout all eternity and through all infinity, on this planet right here for you is developing to a point where our technology that we've developed is now reaching the point, not yet of the singularity, it's coming fast, real soon, but before that there's another milestone, and that's called general artificial intelligence. Now all these terms, they don't really mean much to most people, and they're just terms people started using. This general intelligence, AI, just simply means that these intelligent computers can basically do in almost anything people can do, and they're better at it, like games and things like that, but much, much more. We are developing right now, in secret, most of it. Now I'm going to tell you one little side thing here, just so you know I know what I'm talking about. Years ago, I was involved in a national-wide corporate process where a large corporation intended to take over control of information going into the entire public school system at all levels, adjacent with businesses. It was called Community Learning Information Network. During this process, I had the opportunity to work with Dee Hock, the former founder and CEO Emeritus of Visa. So, a pretty smart guy, okay? Certainly powerful. Also, a very high-ranking general from the Joint Chiefs of Staff in his previous work, and he served as Command, Communication, and Control Director of everything, all the military. Among many other things, including DARPA, which is the responsibility, at least was the responsible agency for all research for the military. Started out in the Army, and things have changed a lot since then. It's now dispersed among many corporate activities around the world. But the point of it is, I was familiar with these kinds of things that are going on in the world that many of you just aren't. Okay? So what I'm going to tell you is, artificial intelligence just isn't being developed by all these people on the internet, on Facebook, and on YouTube and all the rest, the things you're hearing about. It's being done in secret, where most events like this are preceding being in the public world for many years. Artificial intelligence, and it's an incorrect misnomer, because it's not artificial. It is intelligent activity that can direct military affairs, civil affairs, all kinds of things. It's a real form of intelligence. Everything is made of energy, light energy, dark energy, and this is energy that's directed. Okay, it's composed, it's directed. Well, they are doing these things in these places, and now they're starting to move with the help of people like Musk, people like Peter Thiel, many others, to move it in more into the public-private domain, where it can be used first by those people I mentioned up at the very tippy top of this pyramid to control the rest of us. Now, you can believe me or not, that is a fact, and that is what it's going to be used for, and it's already started. I'll use one example close to home where I live in the United States. Now, what I'm going to tell you comes from a guy who was a Cub Scout, Boy Scout, one medal closer to being an Eagle Scout. I served in the military and the Army as a combat air traffic controller, an operations guy. I know my way around the system. I've been a dealer in casinos. I've done all kinds of work. I've talked a lot about this in my earlier podcast, so I won't go into too much detail. But what I want you to know is I've seen the world in many different directions and ways. Okay? Now, this AI, I'm going to mention, I mentioned the name Peter Thiel. I'm going to mention, I try not to mention many names in these podcasts because it really isn't dependent on any certain people. It's who they represent and how it's all put together. But Peter Thiel is a unique individual. He actually helped make Musk what he is today. You probably haven't heard his name. He started PayPal and with somebody else, and then Musk came in with a lot of money from heredity and things. But anyway, Musk made most of his money that way, and then through his deals you all know about. But Peter Thiel is a very important character, and right now he's the head of a corporation called Palantir, who actually runs most of the facilities and the processes that hold the database for the CIA, for the FBI, for the National Security Administration, all these things that you just probably don't know about. Okay? These people are very, very powerful, and they're converging on building a system that squeezes everybody out that Henry Kissinger used to call a useless eater. People that, if we didn't need your taxes, if they don't need the profits that you help make through your work, because they're employing robots or other systems, other AI systems to do the work, if they don't need you, Kissinger was former Secretary of State, professor, very known, knowledgeable man. He called you useless eaters because they're not going to need you when this develops, and it's developing fast. Now everybody won't go at the same rate. That's why I use this. These people are already in trouble, these people are getting in trouble, and these people are in danger. Now, they don't want to cut everybody off, and they're going to do it slowly, like you turn the water pressure down when you're watering your yard or taking a shower. You can cut that water pressure off at a speed that you like. That's what they're going to do. Now, one of the key things I want to talk to you about right now, and the reason I talked about my patriotism and my background is I want to say bad things right now that happen to be true about the leader of the free world, and that is our president. Now, folks, the facts are there if you really look for them. Don't trust other people, even people you normally trust about things, because they don't know most of them. He's a very bad, sick man. He's a con man, proven to be so. He's bankrupted many businesses and indirectly bankrupted many others that he was working with through an operation he uses the legal system to protect him from. Him and his father used the biggest mob boss in New York for years and years and years. Okay? For years and years and years. To threaten and to use the legal system and all that means to negotiate. And I'm not talking about Cohen here. Okay? You can look it up for yourself. It's very out there. These people and this man are bad people. Now, half the people in the United States that voted this guy into office twice. That's how good a con man he is. Now, you don't want to think of yourself as being conned. You don't. You don't want to think you've been duped, but you have. The man's on a mission. Okay? Now, a lot of it was paid for by these people up here because they're using him. The man is so sick he doesn't know he's being used by them. He thinks he can manipulate anyone. That is a way you can learn about a person that is known to be a pathological liar, a pathological narcissist, okay, a psychopath. That's what this man is. He wants to be king. He believes it's his destiny, and he's using all of the assets of the United States government and the power over all the others that he has power over to help him do that. He's got the biggest nuclear arsenal under his command. He's got many, many military assets. That's what he's going to show off to you tomorrow. The man is crazy, but he doesn't know it. He thinks he's just so smart that you're kind of a little odd when you are really smart. And that's sort of true, relative to everyone else. He has a bunch of very dangerous people working for him. These wars aren't just kind of coming from nowhere. The one we're headed for with Israel and Iran, it involves much more of that region than just that. Believe me, it is not over in Iraq. It's not over in Afghanistan. It's not over in Syria. It's not over in Ukraine. Okay? It's not over, folks, and it's going to get bigger and bigger because this group of people right under him that is controlling all this AI business, all that tech, they're getting all the money the United States is putting into these war efforts because it doesn't go to them, it goes to these military, the people that build all this weaponry, the corporate people. Those countries don't pay for it, they go into debt for it. And then that debt and the interest goes to more of these people through the World Bank and all those other parts of the banking world. They're all up here. President Trump is being used by these people. You know Musk funded a lot of his campaign. What you don't know is there are others, not quite as wealthy as Musk, but many others. And they did it in ways that makes the whole election system questionable today. Okay? You knows the game. But it's going to cost you dearly because let me tell you what's going to happen next. This man will go as far as he can, as long as he's useful to them. When he's not, suddenly everybody's going to know how crazy he is, incompetent he is, and he'll either resign or he will be used. Who knows about impeachment? Those people are bought too. But whether he goes or not that way, he's going to go one way or the other. And then what I'm going to link now is something I told you earlier. Guess who introduced J.D. Vance to Trump that originally became Vice President of the United States? Peter Thiel introduced J.D. Vance to Trump. So I'm using his name so you know what I'm talking about. You can research this. J.D. Vance, under the control of Peter Thiel and others, will replace Trump when he's not the person they need anymore. Now, whatever J.D. Vance is, and I have no respect for him whatsoever, despite his emotional story of his life that preceded Peter Thiel, okay, the man is not a good man either, but he certainly isn't crazy like Trump. Okay. These people want to control the world. Now, I talk in my other podcast about, I'm going to check my time here. Just take a moment because I want to be sure. And there's so much glare here. Well, I don't know how many minutes I've talked because I didn't turn it on properly. Technology. Well, I don't know how long I've talked, but I've got some more time. When these guys take over the world the way they're going to, there's a reason they want to do it, and that's why these people up in here have a choice. Are you going to become more dependent on them and their control and become what I call a cyborg of some degree, where the cybernetics, not the cybernetic computer system, but what's developing out of that, I would call these people cyborgs, and maybe some from here. But most of these people are going to be called useless eaters, zombies, because they're the walking dead in many respects. These people will depopulate the earth to a huge level that you don't want to think about. Now you have to understand, this has all happened before. Do you really think that the people that came before humans, okay, these people didn't know they were going to become extinct? They didn't know that some of their ancestry would go into zoos or be transformed to other critters or whatever. Nobody ever thinks they're going to go extinct. Humans are reaching the upper part of their existence on planet Earth, okay, and becoming either cyborg or zombies, useful to the system or not. Now, if you're not useful to the system, it's going to be rough. Won't all happen at once. Those degrees I'm talking about. J.D. Vance, Peter Thiel, Musk, and all the others know this. I'm not sure Trump does, because he still wants to be king. He wants to unite, buy countries, or take them through military force and put them under his command. That's a very dangerous thing for you and him. So, in this particular podcast, I'm directing attention, immediate attention, to you folks. You better start addressing this problem, learning about it every way you can, and finding a way to become useful to these people up here. I don't like the sound of that. I've been an independent person for years. I started up 13 charter schools. I went crosswise with the government over it because they wanted me to do things I wouldn't do. They just dropped me. I filed a lawsuit, won. They just ignored it because they can. Okay? The system is starting to fail you. They've lied to you for so long now, they don't need to anymore, and they're getting more and more in your face about it. I want you to know that in my next podcast, number 6 of this series, I'm going to talk about my Pathfinder project and give you the benefit of some of the knowledge I have to help you travel this road to become somewhat a useful person to them, so that when they introduce their cyber currency, which is on its way, and I did say cyber currency, many call it cryptocurrency, the point of it is it's all going to be controlled by them and linked to whatever they want it to be linked to, and they will decide how much money you people get in whatever form it takes, stable coins, etc. Mr. Trump is invested heavily now in the stable coins, and all the billions he's bringing in through his family and his in-laws, through Saudi Arabia and all these other countries that he's complicit with. Okay, we don't know exactly how that's going. He will bring down the Federal Reserve System and change it to some degree. You got to understand, since 1913, the Federal Reserve isn't part of government. They're bankers, they're private, they control the currency. Well, there's a different group of people in town now. They're going to use this system every way they can as they develop the newer one and phase it in. It's in the process right now. Through it comes immense control. They will know every detail of you, and that that petering down through the system of the money supply will go to those who are useful to them. No one else. Now it'll be in degree at first, and it'll gradually, as they depopulate and create what Nick Bostrom calls a utopia for them and a dystopia, a bad place for you. You have to decide right now which direction you're going to go. It's going to get really bad, or it's going to get decent for you if you can find a way to be useful to these corporate giants, this technocracy. Boy, I don't like the thought of that myself. But it's your choice. I'm going to die soon. I got a serious aneurysm that's already dissected once, and I'm not even supposed to be alive today. So I'm getting on, giving you the last hours of my life to try to help you forward. I've been a teacher, preacher my whole life. And I'm trying to get the word out. Now, don't take my word for it, but use my words to guide you to find the truth. If you do find your way to what I'm doing, you can go to rightorwrong.com, right with a W, and you can start looking down this path towards I can do to help you if you want to. There's no contracts, there's nothing, there's no cost. You can quit anytime you want. I don't like quitters, but you got to do what you got to do. I won't quit you. Okay? Now, what's this one person thinking he can do? Not only that, I've done it for thousands and thousands of people. I've worked this system in California, Arizona, Colorado to some degree. Okay? I got tired and retired in Colorado. But I won federal lawsuits or helped people win through getting through consent decrees, and nobody else could do it for 10 years at a time. And I went in and did it in less than 3. I led that effort. I made it happen. I can help you. Now, there's many other stories I could tell you, but I don't want this to be about that. You can find out anything you want about me on my websites. I have 16 different websites that I guide you through depending on where you want to go. Okay? I use a process I learned over time. Part of it was developed, what you call reality therapy. I talk to you, I ask questions, I don't tell you what to do. We build a plan together. I'm very, very good at it. I've done it all over the world. No, that's not true. I've done it all over my world. The United States, a little bit with Canadians, and mostly with students at all levels. Okay, I know what I'm talking about, folks. I've been on a accreditation for colleges, universities, public schools for 19 states. I've been an ambassador to the American Correctional Association. I know my way around how things work. I am a rebel, really the reason for the red and black. Black can be a little depressing. Red is radical, rebellious. I've always been a rebel. My baseball coach at Arizona State University many years ago when they were national champs, he walked out to the mound one time and he just walked out and said this to me. He said, "Wright, you're the dumbest pitcher I ever coached." And he walked off the mound. And there's some good reason for him to say that, but I was good too. In any event, I'm going to let you go now. Look for my next podcast in the next day or two. And that's number 6. That'll be my last one. And I'm going to get into some of the detail of the Pathfinder project to kind of give you a hint of what's there. And I'm debating some other things I can tell you about this process that's taking place all around the United States and the world right now. This power grab using technology. I can talk to you about it. I used one of the first computers many years ago that was available to the public. I was at the University of Arizona in 1969, and we had this big DEC 10 machine, bigger than my office area here, and we had to sign up for a couple hours at 1, 2, 3, 4 in the morning to get to use it. I was doing a systems engineering class then, and we were computerizing the tides on a lake somewhere in Europe. I don't remember right now. I think it was up around Russia, looking at building a resort and using tide information, weather information to computerize that. Come a long way. I have many computers in here, and I'm not a technology expert by any means, but I know how to use it enough to help you with this series if you want it. So right now I'm going to get back to it. I'm going to get this thing posted, and I'll move on to the next one. So adios right now from Tucson, Arizona, Alan Wright, and I wish you the best, and vaya con Dios for those of you who feel that way. You've been a victim of some true lies as well. I know you're not going to believe me about that, and I'll reiterate, I stood behind some podiums when I was young, like this one over here, and gave more than one sermon, and I would like to think I just kept growing and learning about the realities of what we call universe. It's really, there is no creator, my friends. It never was. It never ends. It never began. It always is, always was. Even if you go back to the Bible, I am that I am, and no name, there's no name for it. We create it. It's a useful system, and it comes with a lot of baggage, folks. Now, I've studied quantum physics and everything else, and I can tell you that at the very bottom of that quantum world is something that very few understand. You can go back to my earlier podcasts, or you can go to some of my other work. You can go to my conjecture, you can go to my work in physics, and I can show you as much as you need to know if you want to build this roadway through this system. So, good day.